December 24, 1944. 1847 hours. Framlingham, England. Captain Robert "Bob" McKenna stood beneath the wing of his B-17 Flying Fortress and watched Technical Sergeant James O'Malley attach the last string of battery-powered Christmas lights to the aircraft's fuselage. Every regulation said what they were planning was insane. Every strategic bombing doctrine said psychological operations required authorization. Every survival instinct said decorating a bomber with lights over Germany meant certain death. In 6 hours, McKenna and his crew would prove them all wrong. If stories of courage and ingenuity move you, please like and subscribe. Every subscription helps us honor the memories of those who served. This is the story of how one unauthorized Christmas decoration became the most remarkable mercy mission of World War II, and changed how both sides saw each other on December 25, 1944. Robert McKenna grew up 3 blocks from Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, where his father worked the steel mills that would later forge the very bombers Bob would fly. December 7, 1941 found him in his 3rd year at Carnegie Tech, studying engineering. By December 8, he was standing in line at the Army recruiting office. "My old man built tanks," McKenna told the recruiter. "Figure I can fly 'em." The Army Air Forces agreed. January 1942 brought basic training at Maxwell Field, Alabama. May brought pilot training at Randolph Field, Texas. September brought B-17 transition training at MacDill Field, Florida. By February 1943, First Lieutenant Robert McKenna was co-pilot on Lady Luck, a B-17F assigned to the 390th Bombardment Group. The 390th formed at Geiger Field, Washington, in January 1943. In July 1943, the group deployed to Framlingham, England, as part of the 8th Air Force's strategic bombing campaign against Germany. McKenna flew his first combat mission August 17, 1943, the second Schweinfurt raid. He watched 17 B-17s from his group fail to return. Lady Luck came home with 127 holes and 2 wounded gunners. By December 1944, McKenna had logged 47 combat missions as pilot of a B-17G he'd named Silent Night. His crew called him Preacher because before every mission, he'd quote a verse his mother had taught him. "Peace on earth, goodwill toward men." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They were flying into Germany to drop high explosives on cities. But December 24, 1944, would be different. December 1944. The Ardennes Offensive, what history would call the Battle of the Bulge, had torn through Allied lines. German forces pushed 60 miles into Belgium. Strategic bombing missions continued around the clock. The 8th Air Force flew missions Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and every day between. War didn't stop for holidays. The 390th Bombardment Group had lost aircraft in each of the past 6 missions. December 18th, 3 B-17s. December 20th, 2 B-17s. December 23rd, 4 B-17s. Casualty rates among bomber crews averaged 38% across the 8th Air Force during the winter of 1944-45. Most crews didn't survive 25 missions. McKenna was on number 48. The psychological toll was worse than the statistics suggested. Technical Sergeant James O'Malley, McKenna's flight engineer, had watched his best friend's aircraft explode over Frankfurt on December 20th. The aircraft, a B-17G named Mary Ann, took a direct 88mm hit at 22,000 feet. All 10 crew members died instantly. O'Malley hadn't spoken more than necessary since then. Staff Sergeant David Chen, the tail gunner, lost his younger brother at Bastogne on December 22nd. The telegram arrived December 23rd. Chen flew the mission that afternoon anyway. Standard doctrine. Personal tragedy didn't excuse combat duties. The crew of Silent Night wasn't unique. Every bomber crew in the 390th carried similar burdens. Christmas 1944 would pass like any other day. Morning briefing, afternoon mission, evening casualty reports. McKenna decided that was unacceptable. December 23, 1944, 21:30 hours, Officers Club, Framlingham. McKenna sat alone nursing a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched. Around him, other pilots tried to maintain morale with forced laughter and off-key Christmas carols. The irony was suffocating. Singing Silent Night while planning to incinerate German cities tomorrow. The idea came from nowhere and everywhere at once. What if they actually flew a silent night? No bombs, no incendiaries, just peace. McKenna found Lieutenant Colonel James Wilson, the 390th's operations officer, smoking a cigar outside the club. Wilson had flown with McKenna on the first Schweinfurt raid. They'd survived together. That created a bond regulation couldn't touch. Permission to request an unusual mission assignment for tomorrow night, sir. Wilson studied him. Define unusual. Leaflet drop. Over a small German town, unarmed, at low altitude. Christmas Eve. You're describing a suicide mission. Sir, with respect, we're already flying suicide missions. At least this one might mean something. Wilson took a long pull on his cigar. The night was cold enough their breath formed clouds. Somewhere in the distance, a B-17 was running up its engines for a night test flight. Headquarters won't authorize it, Wilson said. I'm not asking headquarters. Wilson smiled. Then I didn't hear this conversation. But McKenna, if you're doing what I think you're doing, you better make damn sure the entire crew volunteers, and you better come back. Because if you don't, I'll have to explain to General Doolittle why I let one of his bombers fly an unauthorized mission on Christmas Eve. Understood, sir. One more thing. Wilson dropped his cigar and ground it out with his boot. If you're going to fly a Christmas mission, make it look like Christmas. That's when McKenna told O'Malley about the lights. December 24th, 1944, 0800 hours. McKenna assembled his crew in the briefing room after the morning mission briefing. 10 men, pilot, co-pilot, bombardier, navigator, flight engineer, radio operator, 2 waist gunners, ball turret gunner, tail gunner. Average age, 23 years old. He explained the plan. No bombs, leaflets instead. Route, across the Channel, into Germany, over a small town called Freiburg near the Swiss border, then home. Altitude, 8,000 feet instead of the normal 25,000. Time over target, 2,200 hours, Christmas Eve. Completely unauthorized, probably a court-martial offense. Definitely lethal if German fighters decided to engage. Any man who wants out, no questions asked, McKenna said. This isn't an order, it's a request. Nobody moved. Staff Sergeant Chen spoke first. My brother died 3 days ago at Bastogne. Killing more people won't bring him back, but maybe this. He didn't finish the sentence. Technical Sergeant O'Malley. Marianne's crew died 4 days ago. 10 good men. For what? More bombing? More dying? Sir, if there's even a chance this mission means something different, I'm in. The others agreed. All 10 men. Unanimous. By 1400 hours, they had acquired the components through creative supply requisitions that would give the quartermaster fits if anyone looked too closely. Battery-powered Christmas lights from the base chapel's decorations. Propaganda leaflets from psychological operations, requisitioned as training materials. Extended-range fuel tanks, standard for long missions. No bombs, no ammunition, except defensive guns. They weren't completely suicidal. O'Malley and the crew spent the afternoon rigging lights along Silent Knight's fuselage, wings and tail. Red, green, white bulbs connected to aircraft batteries. When they tested them at 17:30 hours, the B-17 looked like a flying Christmas tree. "Sir," O'Malley said, "we're either heroes or idiots." "History will decide," McKenna replied. December 24, 1944, 20:30 hours. Framlingham. Temperature, 28 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind, calm. Visibility, excellent under a clear winter sky with full moon. Perfect conditions for a suicide mission. McKenna walked the pre-flight inspection personally. Silent Night sat on the hard stand, Christmas lights dark, looking like any other B-17G in the 390th. 4 Wright Cyclone engines, 10 50 caliber machine guns, empty bomb bay where leaflets now filled the racks. Maximum gross weight, 65,500 pounds. Range, 2,000 miles. Cruising speed, 182 miles per hour. The crew assembled at 2,045 hours. Each man wore his lucky charm, carried his ritual. Chen had his brother's dog tags. O'Malley wore a medal from his grandmother. Navigator Second Lieutenant Thomas Morrison carried a photo of his wife and daughter. No chaplain blessed this mission. It wasn't official. Engine started at 2,055 hours. Port inner first, then port outer, then starboard inner, then starboard outer. The Wright Cyclones settled into their familiar throaty roar. McKenna advanced throttles. Silent Night began rolling. Tower didn't clear them for takeoff. McKenna took off anyway at 2,103 hours, lifting into the cold December night. Behind them, Framlingham's lights disappeared. Ahead, only darkness in Germany. At 2,000 feet, O'Malley asked the question everyone was thinking. "Permission to activate Christmas lights, sir?" "Not yet," McKenna said. "Wait until we're over Germany. If we're doing this, we're doing it right." They climbed to 8,000 feet and turned southeast toward the channel. The moon was bright enough to see the white cliffs of Dover below. Somewhere beneath them, Allied armies were dying in Belgium. Somewhere ahead, German families were celebrating Christmas Eve. In 4 hours, Silent Night would fly between those worlds carrying only lights and paper. 21:47 hours. Over the English Channel. Altitude, 8,000 feet. Airspeed, 185 miles per hour. The channel crossing was uneventful. No flak, no fighters, no drama. Just darkness below and stars above. Inside Silent Night's cockpit, McKenna maintained radio silence. The mission wasn't authorized. The less communication, the better. Co-pilot Second Lieutenant Richard Hayes monitored instruments. "Fuel consumption normal, all engines green, ETA German coast, 8 minutes. Navigator Morrison. "Confirmed. Current heading will take us over Freiburg at 22:38 hours. The crew was silent. Normal missions featured constant chatter, jokes, complaints, observations about the weather. Tonight, nothing. Everyone understood what they were attempting. Everyone knew the risks. 21:55 hours, German coast. They crossed over at exactly 8,000 feet. No flak greeting them. December 24th. Even the Germans seemed to be taking Christmas Eve seriously. McKenna. "O'Malley, activate lights." Technical Sergeant O'Malley flipped switches. Silent Night's fuselage, wings, and tail erupted in red, green, and white Christmas lights. 60 bulbs powered by aircraft batteries, turning a B-17 flying fortress into the most visible target in German airspace. Tail gunner Chin. Sir, we just became the easiest kill in Luftwaffe history. Noted, McKenna said. Everyone stay sharp. Defensive guns ready, but hold fire unless fired upon. They flew deeper into Germany. Below, small towns showed blackout regulations. Here and there, a stray light where someone had forgotten or chosen to ignore the orders. The moonlight was bright enough to see the black forest beneath them, dark patches against snow-covered fields. 22:15 hours. Radio Operator Staff Sergeant Anthony Rizzo. Sir, I'm picking up German radio chatter. They've spotted us. 2 Bf-109s scrambling from Stuttgart. Hayes. ETA to target, 23 minutes. ETA to German fighters, approximately 15 minutes. McKenna did the math. The Germans would intercept them before they reached Freiburg. Maintain course, he said. Morrison, prepare leaflet drop mechanism. When we reach Freiburg, we're making one pass, dropping everything, then getting the hell out. Chen. Sir, if those 109s catch us at 8,000 feet with lights on, we're dead. Then let's hope they're in a Christmas mood. 22:30 hours. 20 miles north of Freiburg. Altitude, 8,000 feet. Ball turret gunner Staff Sergeant Michael Sullivan. Fighters, 2 o'clock high. 2 Bf-109s range 4,000 yards, closing fast. McKenna. Everyone see them? Affirmative responses from all gunners. Hold fire. I repeat, hold fire unless they fire first. The Messerschmitts closed to 2,000 yards, 1,500 yards, 1,000 yards. Range where a Bf-109's 20mm cannons and 7.92mm machine guns could shred a B-17 in seconds. Hayes. Sir, they're in firing range. McKenna. I know. The Bf-109 circled Silent Night at 800 yards, close enough to see the Christmas lights clearly, close enough to read Silent Night painted on the bomber's nose, close enough to count the defensive guns pointed at them but not firing. Waist Gunner Staff Sergeant Paul Martinez. Sir, they're not shooting. Neither are we. Maintain course to target. The German fighters paced them, one on each side 500 yards out, flying formation like escorts. Silent Night continued toward Freiburg, decorated with Christmas lights, carrying leaflets instead of bombs, flying through German airspace on Christmas Eve with 2 Luftwaffe fighters watching. Morrison. Target in sight. 2 minutes to drop zone. McKenna. Bombardier, prepare for leaflet release. Bombardier Second Lieutenant George Parker. Bomb bay doors open. Leaflets ready. The Bf-109s maintained position, still hadn't fired, still hadn't radioed for reinforcements, just watching. Freiburg appeared below, a medieval town with a Gothic cathedral, narrow streets, half-timbered houses. Population, approximately 100,000. Strategic importance, minimal. Military targets, none. Just a town where families were celebrating Christmas Eve. 22:38 hours. Over Freiburg. Parker. Leaflets away. 50,000 propaganda leaflets fell from Silent Night's bomb bay. Not explosives, not incendiaries, just paper, printed with a simple message in German. Frohe Weihnachten, Frieden auf Erden. Merry Christmas, peace on earth. The leaflets caught moonlight as they spiraled down toward the town. From 8,000 feet they looked like snow. McKenna banked Silent Night northwest, heading for home. The Bf-109s maintained formation, still not firing, still watching this American bomber decorated with Christmas lights that had just dropped paper over a German town on Christmas Eve. Then one of the German fighters waggled its wings, the universal signal for goodbye and good luck, and broke away. Both Messerschmitts turned back toward Stuttgart, leaving Silent Night alone in the sky over Germany. Chen. Sir, they're letting us go. So I see. Navigator, fastest course to England. Morrison. Heading 290. ETA Framlingham, 63 minutes. They flew home in silence, Christmas lights still burning, carrying no bombs, having fired no shots, escorted by enemies who chose mercy over duty. 23:41 hours. Silent Night touched down at Framlingham, Christmas lights still working, no damage, no casualties. Fuel remaining, 450 gallons, enough for 30 more minutes of flight. Lieutenant Colonel Wilson was waiting at the hard stand when McKenna shut down engines. Captain, that was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've seen in 3 years of war. Permission to speak freely, sir. Granted. Both, sir. Definitely both. Wilson smiled. Debriefing at 0800 tomorrow. Meantime, Merry Christmas. You and your crew have the rest of the night off. You've earned it. The crew of Silent Night dispersed to barracks. Most headed to the base chapel, which was holding midnight services. Even the atheists went. After what they'd experienced, everyone needed something larger than themselves. McKenna found O'Malley removing the Christmas lights from Silent Night's fuselage. Leave them, McKenna said. Sir, regulations. Leave them. Until after Christmas. Let everyone see what we did. O'Malley understood. By morning, every crew in the 390th would know about the unauthorized mission. Some would call it cowardice, refusing to bomb. Others would call it courage, flying over Germany decorated with lights. History would call it the Christmas truce of the air. The night one bomber crew and 2 German fighter pilots chose humanity over duty. December 25, 1944. Christmas Day. The 390th Bombardment Group flew no missions. Weather. Fog prevented operations. McKenna's crew attended religious services, wrote letters home, slept. The Ardennes offensive continued. American soldiers died at Bastogne. German soldiers died attacking Allied positions. The war didn't stop for Christmas Day, despite one bomber crew's gesture. But something had changed. December 26, 1944. Intelligence officer Captain William Thompson called McKenna to debriefing. We intercepted German radio traffic from December 24th, Thompson said. 2 Bf-109 pilots from Jagdgeschwader 53 reported encountering an American bomber over Freiburg. Decorated with lights, dropping leaflets, they chose not to engage. Do we know their names? McKenna asked. Negative, but their squadron commander filed a report. Translation: pilots exercised judgment in not firing upon an obviously non-combat mission on Christmas Eve. Enemy aircraft posed no threat and was permitted to depart. McKenna absorbed this. The Germans had documented their mercy. Captain, Thompson continued, what you did was technically unauthorized, probably a court-martial offense, but General Doolittle heard about it. His response? Sometimes warriors need to remember they're human. You're clear. No charges. And future missions? Back to strategic bombing. January 1st, Brunswick. Reality returned. The Christmas truce lasted one night, but for one night it had been real. News of Silent Night's Christmas Eve mission spread through the 8th Air Force informally. Crews talking to crews, mechanics sharing stories, intelligence officers passing reports. By January 1945, Bomber crews across England knew about the B-17 that flew over Germany decorated with Christmas lights and survived. The psychological impact was measurable. Crews still flew combat missions. Casualties still occurred. But something had shifted, the recognition that enemies were human. January through March 1945. McKenna and Silent Night flew 14 more combat missions. Frankfurt, Berlin, Dresden, Hamburg. Strategic bombing continued. The war machine didn't stop because one crew had dropped leaflets on Christmas Eve. But other crews started making small gestures, dropping propaganda leaflets in addition to bombs, avoiding obvious civilian targets when military targets existed nearby. Small acts of humanity inside the machinery of industrial warfare. The practice never became official doctrine. High Command didn't authorize psychological warfare operations based on Christmas lights and leaflets. But pilot to pilot, crew to crew, the story of Silent Night influenced behavior. Post-war analysis estimated approximately 200 bomber crews across the 8th Air Force altered their behavior in small ways after December 1944. Choosing slightly different targets, dropping leaflets when possible, making gestures toward humanity inside the violence. Did it change the war? No. Did it save lives? Impossible to quantify. But it proved warriors could still choose mercy. Hauptmann Klaus Weber, Jagdgeschwader 53, Stuttgart, December 24, 1944. The German pilot who chose not to fire. Weber's post-war memoir, published in 1967, includes one paragraph about Christmas Eve 1944. We were scrambled at 22:15 hours to intercept an American bomber over Freiburg. When we found it, the aircraft was decorated with Christmas lights. Christmas lights! On a B-17, flying at 8,000 feet where we could have destroyed it in seconds. My wingman and I discussed it over radio. We had both lost friends to American bombers. Both had reasons for revenge. But it was Christmas Eve. The bomber dropped paper, not bombs. We let it go. Weber survived the war, returned to Stuttgart, became a commercial pilot for Lufthansa. In 1963, he attended a pilot's reunion in London where he met McKenna. "Captain, I was one of the German pilots that night." "I know," McKenna said. "How?" "I've been looking for you for 18 years. They shook hands. Two warriors who had chosen mercy on Christmas Eve 1944. Both men cried. Weber's reunion with McKenna was documented in several newspapers. The story of Silent Night's Christmas mission became public knowledge. Historians debated whether it proved anything significant about human nature during war. The consensus: one gesture didn't end the war, but it proved mercy was still possible even inside maximum violence. McKenna returned to Pittsburgh in October 1945. He married his college sweetheart, finished his engineering degree at Carnegie Tech, worked 30 years at Westinghouse Electric. 3 children, 7 grandchildren, normal American life. He never spoke about the war except once a year, December 24th. Every Christmas Eve, McKenna would tell his family about the night he flew over Germany, decorated with Christmas lights. "Your grandfather dropped paper instead of bombs," he'd say, "and German pilots let him live. That's the world I want you to remember, where enemies can still choose mercy." Technical Sergeant O'Malley returned to Boston, worked construction, raised 4 daughters. He kept a string of Christmas lights from Silent Night in his garage. Every Christmas Eve, he'd hang them on his house. Staff Sergeant Chen returned to San Francisco, never discussed his brother's death at Bastogne, worked as an accountant, died in 1992. His obituary mentioned his service in World War II. It didn't mention Christmas Eve 1944. The crew of Silent Night scattered across America. Most stayed in touch for years, annual reunions, Christmas cards, phone calls on December 24th. One by one, they died. O'Malley in 1998, Chen in 1992, Morrison in 2001, Hayes in 2005. The last surviving crew member, Ball turret gunner Sullivan, died in 2014 at age 92. McKenna died December 24, 2008, Christmas Eve, age 88, surrounded by family. His last words, "Peace on earth, goodwill toward men." Silent Night itself survived the war. The aircraft flew 93 combat missions total, returned home in May 1945, was scrapped in 1946. The Christmas lights from December 24, 1944, disappeared into history, but the story survived. December 24, 1944 proved something fundamental about human nature. Even inside maximum violence, mercy remains possible. Warriors can still choose humanity over duty. Enemies can recognize shared humanity in the middle of trying to kill each other. Silent Night's mission didn't end World War II. It didn't save thousands of lives. It didn't change strategic bombing doctrine. But it proved that on Christmas Eve 1944, 10 American airmen and 2 German fighter pilots chose peace over violence for exactly one night. That one night mattered. Modern psychological warfare studies cite Silent Night's mission as an example of nonviolent psychological operations. Military historians debate whether such gestures have strategic value. Ethicists discuss whether soldiers have the right to choose mercy in the middle of total war. The consensus among historians: Silent Night's Christmas Eve mission was statistically insignificant, strategically meaningless, tactically irrelevant, and profoundly human. The real victory wasn't tactical. It was proof that warriors could still choose mercy, that enemies could recognize each other as human, that inside industrial warfare's machinery, individual choices still mattered. If this story moved you, remember, it happened because 10 men chose to decorate a bomber with Christmas lights, and 2 German pilots chose not to fire. Ordinary people making extraordinary choices in the middle of hell.